Welcome back. The questions are still coming in about COVID-19 and the state's response. We are continuing our live conversation now with Governor Chris Sununu, and let's get right to the questions.
You bet.
Kelly Tupik says, what will be the procedure of opening restaurants and hotels that rely so much on tourism?
Restaurants and hotels are so difficult to reopen. They really are. One of the issues with hotels and tourism is that you're really enticing folks out of Massachusetts and Connecticut and Rhode Island to come up into New Hampshire, and we are not there yet. And again, we love to have folks from other states come visit us in normal times, but these are very much not normal times. We don't want them to draw in the COVID really from those amazing hotspots. Please understand, the northeast part of the United States is the hot spot on the planet right now for COVID. It's really amazing. The fact that we haven't seen that 30 and 40 times the rate of incident that you see just down in Boston, 20 miles south of us, is amazing. And that's a testament to the people in New Hampshire, I think, staying very disciplined with the stay-at-home orders and the physical distancing. Restaurants and hotels are very, very difficult. They're driven on tourism, but right now we're just not in a tourism mode at all. As soon as those numbers start to come down and we can start opening it up, we're going to do it, probably under new norms, making sure that we're protecting both the folks coming in, the employees, and the surrounding communities. We get a lot of feedback from surrounding communities and surrounding businesses in the North Country saying, look, we just don't want to see a lot of folks from Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New York coming up right now, and you have to appreciate that. So we're interacting with all those stakeholders as part of our Open Up New Hampshire task force, and hopefully we'll have some guidance, and as soon as we can get it up and running in a safe and meaningful way, we're going to do it.
As the weather starts to warm up, we are getting a lot of questions about campgrounds, including this one from Robin. She asks, I am a seasonal camper and we open for the season May 1st. I'm wondering when any more decisions on this will be made.
So we have a new guidance document on campgrounds that are coming out. The interesting aspect of campgrounds is this: private campgrounds have a lot more flexibility to determine who comes up and who uses those than the public campgrounds that the state runs. The state can't say no people from Massachusetts, no folks from out of state. A lot of the towns, the businesses in a lot of the towns where those campgrounds are really asking us to not open the campgrounds and not allow folks from other states to come up. Private campgrounds would have that ability, the state doesn't. So what we're actually looking to do is possibly look at two different sets of guidelines, one for the public ones and one for, I should say the state-run ones and one for the private campgrounds. We want the businesses to be open. There's a lot of folks that live in campgrounds. It's amazing. I didn't realize this myself. They kind of go from campground to campground. So if you just shut them down altogether, you're really putting a lot of people out of a place where they live for long periods of time. So the task force will look at all the different opportunities there. We want to provide that flexibility to campgrounds, but we have to be very cognizant that right now might not be the right time for certain campgrounds in certain areas to be enticing folks to come out from out of state.
And this question touches on something that you just spoke about. Katie asks, would it be legal to keep the campgrounds open to New Hampshire residents only?
The private campgrounds would technically, we believe, have that right to do so. The ones that the state runs, probably not because of the interstate commerce clauses. So we kind of have two different sets of rules, believe it or not, for public and private. But if we can find new guidance for both of those and make both of them work, we'll try to do so.
All right, we have time for one more quick question. Cindy asks, if schools are closed until the end of the school year and parents are given the okay to return to work sometime in May, who will watch the younger kids and supervise their online learning?
It's a real challenging dynamic, to be sure. So there's a couple different aspects of maintaining and the protection of younger kids. So right now we have our child and daycare centers. They're mostly privately run. We've incentivized them financially and with PPE, making sure they have all the pieces of the puzzle to stay open and stay viable. They're not all choosing to stay open, and we can appreciate that. As we start opening up businesses, parents will have to make kind of those decisions about what to do. It's essentially an extended summer, but we're adding remote learning in there, so that's going to create a challenging dynamic as well. Businesses aren't just going to all open up in early May. They're just not. I'd love it if that could happen, but we're just definitely not there yet. Given, they're saying Rhode Island might not even see their surge for another week. Massachusetts numbers are still really off the charts. 2,000 now fatalities in Massachusetts, which is just a shame, and we don't want to again just go back and open up too fast and become a victim of that, if you will. I think Governor Baker's doing a great job in Massachusetts trying to manage a very difficult situation, but we are, at least the southern part of the state, are essentially the suburbs of Massachusetts, and so we need to make sure that we're not enticing that in. So we're going to open gradually and also give folks enough time to plan. We're not just going to open up, hey, it's all open up tomorrow. We're going to give folks a bit of a runway here so they can plan what they can do with their kids and make sure that they have adequate coverage.
Governor Sununu, we have many more questions coming in. We'll get to more of them after the break.